So let's talk about definitions. What defines a language? Is it just a bunch of words strung together in interesting ways? Or are there some properties that make it special? However you define it, there's no denying that people love getting creative with language. After all, when you use and think about words every day, it's not that big a leap to want to get your hands on some sounds and construct your own. I'm Moti Lieberman, and this is the Ling Space.
Welcome to the Ling Space.
Language is a fundamental part of what humans do, and so is crafting things. So it's no surprise to learn that we've been making up languages for a really long time, and for a bunch of different reasons. Some medieval examples include mystical or spiritual lexicons. Most of these stemmed from religious devotion, but in a lot of these cases the real reasons why they were created have been lost to the sands of time. Later, during the Enlightenment, some scholars experimented with creating philosophical languages, all about their perfect world of ideals. These days, though, languages are often invented just for the fun of it, or to help flesh out imaginary worlds. We usually call these constructed languages, or conlangs for short. Some of the most famous conlangs have been created specifically for works of fiction. If you've seen any of the Lord of the Rings or Hobbit movies, then you've heard J.R.R. Tolkien's imaginary languages, like the Quenya or Sindarin spoken by the elves. And when the movie Avatar came out, much was made of the alien language Nav'i, which was created by the linguist Paul Frommer to be as much like a natural language as possible. Maybe the most famous conlang of all, though, is Klingon, which was invented over the course of decades for the Star Trek universe. A pretty sizable community has grown up around Klingon, and they've done a whole bunch of fun stuff, like translating Shakespeare or the Tao Te Ching into it, or even writing whole operas in it. People have even tried raising bilingual Klingon English kids. Conlangs invented for art and entertainment can be really engaging, and they show just how creative and intricate human beings can get when it comes to language. But of course, not all constructed languages were created with fiction in mind. Some aim to improve communication between people, or help make the world become a better place. That's the case with Esperanto, a language invented in the late 19th century by L.L. Zamenhof. Zamenhof dreamed of a language that would transcend borders, that would help everyone get along and create a climate of peace in Europe. When he started drawing up Esperanto, he based it on some of the languages that were around him, like borrowing some sounds from the Slavic languages and a lot of the vocabulary from Romance languages, like Spanish and French. He deliberately made the grammar as regular and straightforward as he could, so that the language could be easily used and understood. Hundreds of thousands of people all over the world today use Esperanto as an auxiliary language, or one that complements the other languages that they speak. There are even thought to be about 1,000 native speakers of Esperanto worldwide, or ones who've been learning it since birth. Another approach you might take when creating a language from scratch is to try to remove all the vagueness and ambiguity from the way we speak. The thing is, we tend to talk circles around each other sometimes, and maybe you want to avoid that and be super exact. That's what John Quijada did when he made Ithkuil. The idea of Ithkuil is to cram as much meaningful information as possible into the most compact bunch of sounds. It has 45 consonants and 13 vowels, and a lot of single sounds that are used to encode some meaning. It has like 1 million variables for building sentences, too. Well, maybe not 1 million, but it does have literally 92 grammatical cases, which is pretty close. So a sentence like azbaltui means I inadvertently anger someone, whereas a sentence like azbaltoi means my presence makes someone angry. Now, before you start thinking 92 cases, how on earth am I supposed to learn that? Keep in mind that even the linguist that invented the language doesn't speak it fluently. Unlike Esperanto, the idea isn't to have this be a language that people use for their everyday lives. Rather, Ithkuil might be useful in situations where you need super exact, laser-like precision for your language, like legal or political debates. Or if you're a logic bot. Conlangs are cool and fun and creative, and they can help us learn about all the different dimensions and parameters that human languages can have. But the question that we want to ask as linguists is, are constructed languages really languages? Well, there's a few different ways to answer that, so let's take a closer look. So one popular definition of language is any system by which humans use words to communicate. If we do it this way, then conlangs would count, and so would things like codes and ciphers. Usually though, linguists tend to think you need a little more than that. For something to be a language, it needs to have sprouted from the amazing mental machinery that we all have, known as universal grammar, or UG. That's because there's a bunch of stuff that all of the natural languages of the world do, and then another bunch of stuff that none of them do. So since every natural language in the world follows UG, you could say that any other system that follows those rules also qualifies as a language. From this perspective, a system like Ithkuil wouldn't make the cut. After all, no language in the world encodes meaning as compactly and complexly. What about something like Esperanto then? Well, when children start learning languages that originally started out as conlangs, things get a little bit hairier. Babies are born all set to receive linguistic information and then build a grammar out of it. So any child exposed to a constructed language from birth will try to turn it into a natural language just by virtue of being a human being with a regular human brain. As we'll see in a later episode, this is pretty much what happened with sign languages. They might have been created from scratch at some point, but after generations of use, pretty much any linguist will tell you that they're full-fledged natural languages now. So by this definition, the same thing should be true about Esperanto too. So at what point does something become a language? What should we say about Quenya or Klingon or Nav'i? Or any other conlang that you might be making up right now? Well, if you're paying attention to the rules and parameters of UG, and if you're giving it a consistent phonology, morphology, and syntax, then you've probably just created a language. It's only when your language gets processed through the brains of babies, though, that it can cross over to become a real natural language with native speakers. It may change in the process, but then all natural languages evolve over time too. In the end, whether it's for socio-cultural reasons, to flesh out a fictional world, or for the sheer fun of creation, people have been building languages from the ground up for a long time. And if you want to make your language as realistic as possible, knowing about linguistics is a great place to start. Understanding how human languages work makes for an awesome foundation. And creating your own can help you learn more about universal grammar and how rich and complex a language has to be to feel real. And that's a solid outcome, by any definition. So we've reached the end of the Ling space for this week. If you weren't too distracted by the Klingon opera, you learned that constructed languages, or conlangs, have been created for centuries for reasons ranging from faith to philosophy to fun. That some of the most popular ones have been constructed to bridge cultures, create worlds, or express a different way of thinking. That depending on your definition of language, conlangs may or may not qualify. And that once babies learn a conlang, they can morph into naturalized languages. The Ling Space is produced by me, Moti Lieberman. It's directed by Delelise Prévost, and it's written by both of us. Our production assistant is Georges Coulombe, our music and sound design is by Shane Turner, and our graphics team is Atelier Muse. We're down in the comments below, or you can bring the discussion back over to our website, where we have some extra material on this topic. Check us out on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook, and if you want to keep expanding your own personal Ling space, please subscribe. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Khapla!